All right, what's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are going to talk about 3 nutrition mistakes that I have made that I want you guys to avoid if you ride or race dirt bikes. So let's hop right into it and get to mistake number 1. Mistake number 1 is carb loading on Sunday, thinking that was going to be the key to my fueling and my success on Sunday, the race day. And the problem with this is not necessarily the carb loading on Saturday before the race. The problem with this is restricting all week and then come Friday, Saturday, leading into Sunday, eating a ton and getting as much food and as much carbs as possible. So what that led to was, number 1, not being properly fueled as best I could, because the reality is that Saturday, even Friday, is not the only thing that contributes to your nutrition and how you feel and your fuel for Sunday. If you think about, if you are sick all week and then you get better on Friday and you're good Friday, Saturday, race on Sunday, you still can feel the effects of that sickness. The same thing is true with our nutrition. If we are terribly in a low calorie zone all week and then just kind of ball out on Saturday, then that's not going to fix our problems from the rest of the week. Now, I wasn't in a crazy terrible zone all the time in terms of calories, but I will say I had an awareness that I thought if I ate more, I may get fat. I was scared of gaining fat, of getting bigger, of all of those things. When in reality, that extra food would fuel my training and fuel my body to do what it needed to do. And so, especially if you have a labor intensive job, if you are training quite a bit, you need to be fueling your body all week. And so that's mistake number 1. Now, what to do instead is exactly that. Consistently fuel all week, and most people don't need to change up a whole lot on that race weekend. And in fact, if you're changing things come race weekend, then we've got problems. I would say keep everything the same when it comes to race time. Do what you know you're going to feel good with, even if it's not the perfect or exactly ideal thing. Because if you know you're going to feel good, you know you feel good during the week, when you do this, then you're going to feel good come race day. Now, for some of the more advanced people that have time to test things, that have time to really dial in their strategy, yes, we may do some carb loading leading up to the race. And yes, we may really dial things in and tweak some numbers, tweak some types of food and the amounts of them, but that's something that they have tested in the past and they know works leading up to race day. It's not that we're trying to do new things or trying to fit the right strategy in when we've never tried it before. So stay consistent, eat good carbs through the week, all week, whether it be fruits, oats, rice, potatoes, all of those things, those single ingredient, whole foods, foods that you can get from the farm, foods that God has made. Those are the foods that you want to be getting in and the carbs that you want to be getting in during the week and leading into that race that are going to fuel your race. So that's mistake number 1 and what to do instead. Mistake number 2, and I'm just going to throw this into the nutrition category for the sake of this video because I think it's a big one that a lot of people make, is I used to just drink a ton of water on Saturday. Yes, I drank quite a bit during the week, but then Saturday came around and I really pounded it just to try to get that extra little bit of hydration in before Sunday comes. And the reality is it probably did the opposite for me. What happens when you drink a ton of water is your electrolytes essentially get flushed out or diluted. Think about like having orange juice in a glass and then you add a whole bunch of water to that, it's going to dilute the orange juice. The same thing is true with electrolytes. And electrolytes, specifically sodium, we need a lot of when it comes to those long, intense race days, even, especially with it being hot. So with that being said, what I would change is the week, kind of the same thing that I said earlier. If you don't know what to do, don't change anything if you feel good through the week. However, if you want to dial this in a little bit, what we can think about here is if you're in the office most days, if you have an office job, we want to get at least half your body weight in ounces in water. And you probably don't need a whole lot of extra electrolytes on top of that unless you're training hard, training outside in the heat, intense, all of those things. And for those training sessions and for races too, we want to get 16 to 32 ounces of water per hour that we're training or racing, depending on the intensity, depending on how much one sweats, those things. And there are tests that you can do on this, but most people don't need to spend the money and go through that. But anyway, besides the point. And then as far as electrolytes, somewhere between 500 and 1,000 milligrams of sodium per hour that you are training or racing. So that is kind of the outline there. Start with that half your body weight in ounces. On the low side, I would like that to be like 0.6, 0.7 times your body weight. And that's kind of your baseline for water every day. And then you add kind of based on your training and intensity, and then also the races. Now, in terms of leading up to race day, kind of the same thing. You can add a little bit of water leading up to race day and a little bit of electrolytes. You have to match that ratio of water to electrolytes. You can't just add water and think that you are going to be 100 times better. Now, yes, for some people, eating processed foods, packaged foods, to-go foods, eating out all the time, all of those things are going to contain a lot of sodium. And so for those people, yes, adding water may be the only thing that you need to do. But you can't just add an infinite amount of water and think that your hydration is going to get infinitely better. So with all that being said, to summarize all of that, what you need to do is drink water consistently and add electrolytes when needed. And then the third and final mistake that I made and what to do instead is I used to eat a heavy complex carb meal right before my race. And what that does is those complex carbs, meaning like brown rice, those sweet potatoes, all of those things. And when I say heavy, I mean just a lot of food, honestly. I was trying to get, like I said earlier, as much as I could in my system before the race. And in reality, what happens there is those foods take hours to digest and to get energy into your system, especially when you go race right after you eat them. Because when you go race, your blood and kind of your body's focus essentially goes away from your digestion and to your effort, to your training, to your racing. And so your body is not focused on digesting all of that food that you just ate. So essentially what can happen is that food can just sit there, maybe your stomach gets upset, and it can also lead to other problems too, in terms of, because of all of these things, you honestly just aren't feeling your best on the bike. And so through all of that, instead of doing that, what I would do now is I would eat that meal earlier and I would change it up. Instead of brown rice or sweet potato, I would go with white rice or maybe even a little bit of white bread if I didn't have that option for white rice. Now, most of the time we do want to be eating those very minimally processed foods and those single ingredient things like I mentioned earlier. But right before a race, you don't want something that's just going to sit in your stomach forever. And so, like I said, those white rice things, the rice cakes, honey, banana, a smoothie would be even great. With that smoothie being already broken down, with it being blended up, it's going to help it digest better. And add a little bit of protein powder into the smoothie with some fruit, some oats maybe in there. And that's going to digest a lot quicker than having some heavy meal right before the race. And so I would have that meal, I would say about at least 60 minutes before race time. I would like to see that an hour and a half, even 2 hours before race time. And then just maybe a small snack when it gets closer to race time. And you shouldn't feel full right before you go race. Now, on the other side of this, I know people who don't feel like eating at all on race day. And with that, what I would say is eat things that are going to be really easy to eat and digest. You need to have that fuel on race day. So if that is a smoothie is always a great option. And another thing to kind of note with this is you need to be eating to fuel your race day, because on race day you are going to expend a lot more than a normal day. And so you need to be compensating for that. You need to be eating for that and to prepare for that essentially. And so those meals leading up to the race need to be intentional. You need to have a plan for that. You need to be able to get those meals in and be confident that you have enough fuel and that it's going to be the right fuel for your body when it comes to game time, when it comes to race time. And so anyway, guys, those are the 3 mistakes that I have made with my nutrition. There are more, but I'd say those are the 3 biggest ones that I made with racing and what to do instead. So if you guys have any questions, let me know down in the comments, and look forward to making more of this content. Let me know what you guys want to see. Happy to make what would be helpful for you guys. But have a blessed day, and we'll see you guys in the next one.